A very good morning, and thanks for joining us on yet another edition of Political Spectrum, live on Spectrum Television. I am Raymond H, and we're putting you through the day's biggest political news, stories, and events. And there's one big news making the rounds across the country this morning. It looks like tentatively, we might be knowing the leadership only zoned the principal positions in the upper and lower chambers of the National Assembly. But this will form much of our deliberations in the course of political hearing is expected to continue today as opposition parties challenge the outcome of the February 25 presidential election that saw INEC declare Bola Tinubu of the APC as the president-elect. We'll talk about all of these and more as we'll be joined by political affairs analyst Bernard Titus to talk us through all of this. But let's begin with a roundup of the day's biggest political news, stories, and events. And we begin with the National Working Committee of the All Progressives Congress, APC, who have finally zoned the leadership positions of the 10th National Assembly. According to a statement by the National Publicity Secretary of the APC, Felix Morka, the zoning arrangements reported to the NWC has the Senate President zoned to the South-South, with Senator Godswill State as the preferred choice. Others are the Speaker of the House of Representatives from the Northwest, Abbas Tajuddin, who comes from Kaduna State. The Deputy Speakership position has been zoned to the Southeast, with Ben Kalu from Abia State. Now, the announcement of the zoning arrangement, according to Morka, followed a meeting of the National Working Committee to consider the report of consultations and meetings held with the President-elect Bola Tinubu, as well as other stakeholders on the zoning arrangement for the 10th National Assembly. Now, he said the National Working Committee had called for further and better consultation with the necessary stakeholders in order to assure the support as well as all Nigerians to continue to work for the peace and progress of the country during and beyond the current period of the leadership transition. Now, lawmaker representing Borno's South Senatorial District, Senator Arlene Dume, has praised the nomination of Senator Godswill Akpabio for the Senate President by the senators against accepting bribes from candidates. Now, recall that the National Working Committee of the APC yesterday adopted a zoning template for the position of principal officers of the 10th National Assembly. The zoning template favored the South-South, especially what he wanted in exchange for support, noting that he was disgusted, but said the lawmaker in question had later apologized. Now, Ndume advised senators to maintain their integrity, stating, as he put it, that senators are men of integrity, and he has told them not to collect money from any aspirant. Even though he said the money has changed hands, no one had approached him to say he would give him money. Apparently a strong backing for the ambitions of Senator Godswill Akpabio as far as the Senate's presidency position is concerned. Elsewhere, the Human Rights Writers Association of Nigeria, URIWA, had protested for 5 years. In a statement by its national coordinator, Comrade Emmanuel Owubiko, the group described the proposed legislation as unconstitutional, illegal, and dictatorial. While urging lovers of democracy to oppose the bill, URIWA pleaded with the international community, especially the United States, was sponsored by Martins Emeka Chinedu of the People's Democratic Party, Imo State. The bill seeks to amend the Criminal Code Act, Cap 38, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria of 2004, and also punish individuals who participate in unlawful assembly. URIWA by what they termed a draconian government through legislative rascality. In a statement issued yesterday, they said the right to freedom of peaceful assembly as well as association is protected. Article 2.1 of the United Nations International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, which has been ratified by 173 countries. They therefore called on the United Kingdom, the United States, the European democracy by imposing a travel ban on the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, as well as the sponsor of the draconian bill, Emeka Martins, saying the bill must be thrashed in the dustbin of history immediately. Let's move on now. The Court's decision on the winner of the 2022 governorship election in Osun State. The PDP candidate and incumbent Ademola Adeleke originally won the election with 403,371 votes, while the candidate of the APC, Adegboyega Oyetola, the immediate past governor, scored 375 through Commission INEC and headed for the tribunal. Justice Tese Kume-led tribunal, in its judgment on January 27, 2023, annulled Adeleke's victory and declared Oyetola the winner of the poll. However, a minority judgment by Justice Biogbuli affirmed Adeleke as the winner of the poll. Interesting times ahead, indeed, for the people of Osun State as we mirror through what the Supreme Court's judgment today would likely mean. The rest of the development, hopefully by tomorrow, we should have news around this judgment, or you can follow up with our respective news bulletins on the day to catch up with the details on the story. But moving on, female legislators in the 9th National Assembly under the aegis of the Women in Politics, or Women in Parliament, the WIP, have actually called on the President-elect's percent of appointment in the public sector to the women folk. Now, according to them, anything less than 35% would not be accepted. Well, the Women in Parliament members bared their minds during a joint press conference with the Nigerian Women Trust Fund, the NWTF, said Tinubu should adhere to the rule of law and mainstream women in appointive offices. Well, the Chief Executive Officer of the NWTF, Mufiliat Fejabi, observed that despite the country's adoption of the National Gender Policy and other international instruments, the President-elect Bola Tinubu has the opportunity to change the narrative and ensure a greater inclusion of women in governance. Let's go to Enugu State now, where Governor-elect Peter Mbah of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, has asked the State Election Petitions Tribunal to dismiss the petition filed by the governorship candidate in his reply to Adelga's petition through his team of lawyers, led by Chief Wole Olanipekun San, submitted that Adelga's petition was incompetent and liable for dismissal. Adelga, who was the first runner-up in the Enugu governorship election, is claiming that he, and not the candidate of the PDP, won the election. But besides the overvoting in favor of Mbah, which he alleged, the petitioner also urged for the disqualification of the PDP candidate on grounds of alleged certificate forgery. Well, responding to all of these claims, Mbah stated that contrary to the claims of the petitioner, he is more qualified, both educationally and otherwise, to contest the March 18 governorship election in Enugu State. Well, the governor-elect also pointed out that the alleged certificate forgery, one of the grounds for the disqualification put through by the Labour Party, had already been resolved by the court, and as such, the tribunal lacks jurisdiction to hear again and take a decision in the same matter. Well, specifically, Adelga had claimed, which Mbah had submitted to INEC in aid of his qualification to contest the poll. In his reply issued yesterday, Mbah, who had accused the petitioners of initiating frivolous cases in court against him, pointed out that his NYSC certificate was not only duly issued to him, but that the court had resolved the issue in his favor. Interesting times ahead indeed, and we'll mirror up on these activities because, as we know it, following the commencement of tribunal activities across the country, expect a flurry of court cases to follow. Only we do not have a tentative date as to the conclusion of most of these matters, which are likely going to go through several appeals, especially with the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal, which commenced pre-hearing yesterday, where litigants, including the Labour Party and the PDP, are challenging the outcome of the presidential election of February 25, which saw, do we now know or have a picture of who will be the next Senate President or Speaker of the House of Representatives? It seems like the APC is one step ahead. When we come back, we'll talk about all of this. Stay with us, Political Spectrum. We'll return.
So we are very happy today. 3 petitions have been dealt with, and 2 to come up tomorrow, continuation of the pre-hearing session.
Well, we started on a very good note. I believe you were here and heard what we said in reply to the statement by the presiding justice of this court. Maybe let me repeat myself. I said that judicialism and constitutionalism is very important, that this is made known, because one way or the other, I do not think that it will be business as usual as far as Nigeria's electoral jurisprudence is concerned. And we have assured they had expeditiously, because everybody is anxious, waiting for the outcome of the hearing. Nigerians are anxious. Most Nigerians are anxious. I believe that they will enjoy what is going to happen here. Robust advocacy, you can be sure of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nanesh.
Thank you, sir.
Petitions Tribunal is being chaired by
Welcome back, and many thanks for staying with us. You're still watching Political Spectrum live on Spectrum Television. As always, we enjoin you to follow us and connect with us on StarTimes DTH Channel 41, and simply head to our website, search spectrumtv.ng, where you can follow us on all of our socials, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch up with the live feeds on virtually any of the contents that you may have missed out on. A quick proceedings expected to commence today as litigants, including the PDP and the Labour Party, are challenging the outcome of the February 25 poll. We'll talk about that later, but let's start off from the legislative arm of government, where the build-up to the June 5 inauguration of the 10th National Assembly is gathering momentum. Congress APC yesterday finally zoned its principal positions of the National Assembly. Well, the South-South has received the coveted position of the Senate presidency, with Senator Akpabio, former minority leader of the Senate, two-term governor of Akwa State, and immediate past minister of Niger Delta Affairs, being named as the consensus deputy Senate president for the APC. The position of the speaker has been zoned to the northwest, with Honorable Tajuddin as the favored candidate, while Ben Kalu from Abia State is being primed for the role of the deputy speaker. The projections in all of this, and of course the up by no stranger to the program, political affairs analyst Bernard Titus joins us here in the state's capital, Uyo. Good morning to you, Bernard, and many thanks for joining me on Political Spectrum today.
Thank you, Raymond.
All right, it's a pleasure having you. I'd like to start by asking, how did you receive the news around the decision taken by the APC to zone the principal positions of the 10th National Assembly? It looks like, what will I say, it was already a known expert, or an open secret, if you like, that Senator Akpabio will likely emerge as the consensus candidate of the APC for the prime position of Senate presidents, the party has finally taken that stand. First off, what's your reaction to
the aspirants, about 10 of them thereabout, and then from a broad perspective, I had anticipated that Senator Akpabio will likely to implement though, but then though some little bit if I want to be a little bit more fair in my analysis, I think it's a good development, and then for the first of the kind, I know that I've had the fair share of catching right from Adolfo Mwabara, Ken Namani, and only in would have been more appropriate for them to have it. But however, it's also a good development for the South.
All right, interesting. I like to come in from Dume, who was one of the aspirants and the leading late. He's been in the House of Representatives before joining the Senate. And a man of such experience, many would have said, would have provided stiff opposition to the likes of Akpabio and the others from the South who had indicated interest for that position. But he stood down yesterday in a televised interview while he said the choice of Akpabio by the APC as a consensus candidate is the true position of the party. He also said it's not over. All right, looks like we may be having some connection problems there, but we'll try to resolve that as quickly as we can. All right, looks like we do have Ben back on the line. If you can hear me, Ben, welcome back. All right, just having connection problems with Ben there. We hope to reestablish contact with him and brush through on the first story of the day, and that's surrounding the hullabaloo that has greeted the nomination or the endorsement, if you like, of Senator Godswill Akpabio as the purported within the party. Senator Ifeanyi Ubah of the YPP, who also hails from the southeastern part of the country, is one of those who has voiced an open complaints about. Okay, welcome back. Let me quickly take you up from this point. While we were just talking about the adoption of Senator Akpabio as a consensus candidate, there's been some quick opposition to his emergence as a purported consensus candidate, even within the APC itself. It's not over yet. Anything can still happen because on the 13th of June, the senators-elect are expected to formally vote for who they would want. So would you say that with the APC now making its choice and saying we prefer Senator Akpabio, that it will be done and dusted? Are you
absolutely. It's not going to be an easy task for the NEC, the Central Working Committee, the NEC of the APC. They have made the adoption by adopting Senator Godswill, also galvanizing support for Senator Akpabio. But that's okay at the party level. But then there are a little bit of trajectory that we must be careful because usually if you check what happened in 2015, let me come up from this perspective. If you remember in 2015, the president wanted or never wanted.
Okay. Again, we just may have light touch with Bennett. We'll hopefully the quality of the line has been quite porous. Welcome back, Bennett. Just go ahead with the point you were making.
Okay, so if you remember in 2015 when Bucharest Assembly, the 8th Assembly was a different ballgame entirely. That was why you see Bucharest Saraki never visited the executive because he emerged through a tussle platform, and then we also ended up having Dokura as the House of Rep in the other side, which the party never wanted one of them. So in all of these, for the party to have, pinpoint or give a blueprint of who they want at the NANS and in the road, which they have highlighted, zoning them to by the party hierarchy and the caucuses. If you also follow suit, you've seen that the nice South caucuses have also, like you noted, the YPP aspirant or has done to other nice caucuses. So that's a different ballgame entirely. But then my own focus is what is going to happen is likely going to play out like what happens with Bukola Saraki and having Ike Ekweremadu as emergent a PDP became of a sudden the deputy senate president, and then the party lost the leadership entirely. So for them to have made that stride is okay, but then there's going to be a huge task ahead of Senator Akpabio and his campaign team. APC and the both parties, they don't even have the majority strength. By this I mean the opposition parties comprising of the Labour Party, PDP, and other combined other parties, they are about 163. They are 163.
Yeah, but if we have to narrow the conversation down to the Senate alone, referring to the upper chamber, at the end of the day, the 109 senators have to cast their votes, and going by the tabulations that we've seen already, in terms of the merger between Senator Akpabio and Jibrin Barau of Kano State, we're here that over 65 senators have endorsed Senator Godswill Akpabio. 5 out of 109 backing your aspirations. Wouldn't you say that's apparently a go?
Well, you see, Raymond, I quite agree with the nines and the central working, the neck of the APC that have consensus. I listened to the press briefing. In days, we'll see, unless the party and both those opposing his candidacy as a speakership will definitely collapse all the structures and come up with a formidable force. That is fine. Definitely is going to have a formidable position. So to me, we will put our finger across until the D-Day is done. That's what we can say. But indeed, that they all want the neck and the of the political and juicy offices that they're already preparing themselves to get.
Well, interestingly, it's the second time in a space of a week that the National Working Committee of the APC has held a meeting trying to, navigate their way through the lobbyings and the consultations that we witnessed in terms of the grapple for the Senate presidency seat, or in fact, even at the House of Representatives. Before a decision was arrived, I think sometime last week after the meeting they had, which lasted for around 4 hours, the AP president-elect, Bola Tinubu, who was in Rivers State on a 2-day working visit when that meeting took place. Well, he returned, and we're here. He was a crucial part of the meeting that took place yesterday. And we are told, we've even heard from the likes of Dave Umahi, Jibrin Barau, that they've been personally asked to stand down from setting a very dangerous precedent where the executive arm of government, in fact, proposed president, is having a major influence in determining who heads another arm of government that is supposed to provide checks and balances to the activities of the executive arm. And that's the beauty around the rule of law. Are we in a danger of seeing a rubber-stamped legislation?
That we couldn't have a rubber-stamped speakership was when Bukola Saraki was there, because he wasn't their preferred. The executive couldn't subjugate the power and then install who they want. A major stake, which constitutionally the NANs should elect their members by themselves, having quality and qualified individuals who understood the workings of the NANs and who can implement various policies to the citizens. So when once the presidents or the incoming handpick an individual want to impose it to the NANs, usually what happens to such a tenure, usually what we've seen in our continent is having whatever policy the president says you want to do, It just passed through without no thorough rectifications. You want to borrow whatever billions, they just endorse it without thorough rectification and accurate policy. So there are privileges and ethics. So it is a rubber stamp, but however, definitely because some certain members who are galvanizing support to Senator Akpabio, but because they know he will play a major role in various committees that they will be chairing. So that becomes a very intricate part of the system that we've seen at the moment.
So now that you've mentioned that, let's talk about the man himself of the state before his first stint in the National Assembly at the Senate, where he became minority leader. And after that, he lost out in a bid to return in 2019 before being appointed into the Federal Executive Cabinet by President Buhari as Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, a man not short of the president, the number 3 citizen in the country. Well, explore all the fears and concerns around the possibility of the qualities and style to lead the 10th National Assembly and also do right by Nigerians in terms of legislation and lawmaking that will better the lot and welfare of Nigerians first, before we can talk about the interest of the APC as a party.
Well, like you said, let's look at the leadership qualities of the man himself, Senator Akpabio. In recent times, we've had a former governor, like Bukola Saraki, dominating the NAN's leadership because by political standard and all of that, but dominant. But that aside, if you look at the characteristics of Akpabio, his personality, is quite fit, very intelligent, very eloquent, and a go-getter person. He knows what he wants and he will go get it. So, if I'm not biased in my opinion, we need someone who is, a grassroots person who knows the issues on ground, and then certain policy and implementation that must come on board. So, for me, Akpabio is good.
Ben Barrow has been penciled down as a possible deputy Senate president. It comes from Kano State, and also no stranger to legislative duties. He has been in the House of Representatives between 1999 and 2015, where he later joined the Senate, and he's been there up until date. Having a man of his quality as well, with the experience that he has, filling up the role of Deputy Senate President. It looks like a merger made in heaven, for the APC. But so is the speakership position and the DUC one, because it means you're the number 3 citizen in the country, just behind the president and the vice president. But the House of Representatives is equally a very, very key chamber, and so are the principal positions. The APC has zoned the speakership position to the southwest, and it's Honorable Tajuddin who has been anointed, so to say, as the preferred consensus candidate for the speakership position, whilst Honorable Ben Kalu, who hails from Abia State, has been penciled down for the deputy speakership position. Let me start from the latter. Do you feel the people of the Southeast or the Igbos would feel pacified now that they've been
Raymond, if I will air my opinion without bias, you see, Senator Joseph Kalu was already using the popular phrase by the APC presidential elect, Emilio Kong, and that was uncalled for at the time. So, if he needed something more, which is very as sensitive as that office, he would have done his. I know he was an ardent or a diehard supporter of the Bola Ahmed Tinubu's emergence as the president-elect. But then, what fraction? What is the voting strength that is state? And there are also certain news that he led some certain delegation to meet with the Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and then the wife, bluntly told him that I don't know how true that is, kind of conversation. But that aside, in my fair opinion, the Southeast have enjoyed this office. If you want to name them, Adolfo Nwabara, Ken Namani, a lot of them, the speakership was given to the Southeast.
Well, if you had the speakership position zoned to the Southeast or the South altogether, that would have meant the Senate presidency position remaining with the North. Which do you think would have been more favorable when the subject of equity and fairness does come in, considering the North has just completed or is about completing 8 years in the saddle of the Senate presidency? So the power rotation policy here perhaps should be at the front burner before we talk about issues of national interest.
Well, I think with the permutation that by zoning it to the South, by what they've done, if we check by what they've done, Senator Barrow Jubrim is from the Kano, which is the Northwest, right? And then the Northeast in the rep that they have projected is Honorable Abbas Jabuddin. Permutations is a good permutation because of the time we are in. But if we want to go a bit further to look into it deeply, do Ben Kalu? Okay, what happened if Ben Kalu should have been given the reps speakership and then move the...
Interesting. Let's sum it up now with the 10th Assembly debate. We know the induction of the members-elect is due to commence, already commenced, by the way, yesterday, and would run until May 23rd, while the inauguration of the 10th Assembly will come on June 5. Just to summarize, a next government where the executive and the legislature would respect the rule of law in the discharge of their responsibilities. And by your projections, do you think it is one that will work for the people of Nigeria, first and foremost?
I don't think so.
And why are you taking this position?
Well, like I said, all what they're doing is for their self-aggrandizement. Well, since we have a lot to talk about in the election part, that is fine. But then, from what we've had, because if you look at it in the first instance, with the way they are recycling themselves, absolutely nothing will be different.
Well, interesting point indeed, Bernard, but I'd like you to stay on. When we come back from this break, we'll talk to Bernard again in the outcome of the February 25 polls, where INEC declared Bola Ahmed Tinubu as president-elect. A full commencement of the trial sets off today, and while we do not have a tentative date on its conclusion, there are interesting times ahead indeed for Nigeria, especially with May 29 fast approaching. We'll be right back after the short break. Political Spectrum will continue.
Every society is premised on the quality of relationships forged by its inhabitants. The health of these relationships determines how well people, relationships, organizations thrive and how long they stick together. Join Uyai Anyekan on Connect every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and on Sunday 2:30 to 3 p.m. live in the 21st century. Real people, real faces, real stories. Connect live on Spectrum Television.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people. But there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
One truth not often referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story. One truth.
Reminder of our major story this morning. The APC National Working Committee has finally zoned the principal position in the National Assembly to different zones across the country, with Senator Akpabio emerging as purported consensus candidate for the party ahead of the all-important June 13 vote by the senators-elect to determine who would head the 10th Senate going forward, as well as the 10th House of Representatives. Well, not just Senator Akpabio has been anointed as the Senate presidential candidate of the APC, gibbering to the Northwest, with Honorable Abbas Tajuddin emerging as the party's preferred choice for Speaker, while Ben Kalu from Abia State has been penciled down for the Deputy Speaker position. There's been opposition in different quarters to this. We brushed on that thoroughly earlier on. We're talking to Bernard Titus, political affairs analyst, who joined us over the line from Uyo. We'll talk to Bernard again in a short while, this time as we turn our sights to the nation's capital, Abuja, where the Presidential Elections Petitions Tribunal formally got underway yesterday with a pre-hearing at the Court of Appeal level, pending appeals by losing parties when a verdict has been handed at this level in a span of 180 days as provided for by the Constitution. Well, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party and one of the leading litigants at the case, Mr. Peter Obi, was at the court yesterday. Let's get some sound bites and clips from and pictures from the PEPC yesterday. And when we come back, we'll be talking to Bernard again on the projections and expectations of Nigerians from the judiciary as far as the the election concerns around the Welcome back, and thanks for staying on. Sounds and bites, as well as pictures from the presidential election petitions court sitting at the Court of Appeal level in Abuja, where full commencement of the proceedings are on the way today after a pre-hearing yesterday, where the court also adjudicated the processes that would follow the proceedings in its entirety, including how witnesses will be called, time allotted to them, time frame also given to either parties, being the prosecutors or the defendants, and how to respond to the respective suits, and also how to properly file all of these cases. So it's not going to be something that will be done and dusted in weeks, as some would say. It looks like it's going to be a bender over the line. Welcome back, Bernard. The much anticipated tribunal has finally gotten on the way with respect to the presidential post, with the commencement of pre-hearing yesterday. We're not going to go into the core details of what to expect, so we do not preempt the court. But are you now satisfied that
yesterday we saw the proceeding images with the information as gathered? They didn't allow press to have access to it, which I know that the PDP presidential candidate has made an appeal that the whole proceeding should be televised, like it was done at the
Bernard, I just want to put you on the hot seat immediately. Since you factored in that angle, do you support the calls for the Presidential Election Tribunal proceedings to be televised for the country and the rest of the world to see?
Absolutely correct.
Why?
I give my support for it. You saw what happened during the Puta panel that was set up by Sido Basanjo, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
We saw the proceeding, how it gave credence to the proceeding, and citizens were enjoying. Until tomorrow, I still go back to watch the proceeding and how it was handled. How Femi Falana was able to marshal question, deal with issue decisively. That is what we need to see from that perspective, because Nigerians are anticipating. We want to know what happened with 2023 just concluded elections, and to what basis do they draw the conclusion, so that we can justify, the citizen can justify themselves. Okay, I saw the proceeding, it was a fair trial. Okay, these and these were the errors made by different parties. Everybody will admit it. But as it stands, I give my support. Now, on the proceeding,
well, okay, before I let you continue, Bernard, while you've said you were quite satisfied with having the Oputa panel proceedings televised for all of us to see, I mean, the big question here is, what is the aim of having these processes maybe televised, and then in the aftermath, we do not get the real benefit, which is justice? How many persons who appeared at the Oputa panel have been tried for their crimes, even when we had the process served, or if justice is served is not adhered to, then the aim of televising it would have been defeated. Don't you agree?
Well, it's better we have it. It's better we have it done and justify that it was done, and then the Nigerians know that justice was denied, than we've been denied the process and we don't even know the conclusion. For instance, like a Puta panel, some of them were already in prison at the time. Some of them were coming from the prison to defend or give account of what happened at the time, right? So the same thing can the same happen, take effect. It is better for us to know the beginning and know the judges who want to subvert the will of the people, and to look at them in their faces, and they know that they have children, and then they have families who how this was done and how it conclude the conclusion part. Let's leave what is going to happen if the court will take a trifle course at the end of the televised and nothing is done. At that point, when we get to the bridge, we will cross it. But for now, let's deal with it decisively. The first thing is give the media house the right to televise the proceedings.
Okay, so let's delve now into the process itself. The judiciary has called for Nigerians to exercise patience, restraint, and also overall accept whatever verdict comes out from the entire proceedings, assuring that justice would be served. This was confirmed by the head of the tribunal itself, Justice Tambawa. And I wonder if you think Nigerians would take this message with a pinch of salt, or go about it with all sense of seriousness and high hopes and expectations that indeed justice will be served. Because yes, the fix, Bernard, the Constitution provides for 180 days. That's the time span to properly, go through the processes as it concerns post-election litigations, and then another extra 60 days if there is an appeal. And not forgetting, this appeal goes right up to the Supreme Court, because the Presidential Tribunal cases are being heard at the Court of Appeal level. And we know after the Court of Appeal is the Supreme Court. So we're tentatively looking at around 9, 10, 11, or even a year before we have a final verdict on who is the true winner of the February 25 presidential elections. Well, considering that time frame, will you join the school of thought for those who have said, look, the losing party should just sheath their swords and forget about going to court, as opposed to those who say it doesn't matter how long it would take, as long as justice is served and adhered to, we can still go to court? Are you worried by the time frame that the president-elect could be president when we have the cases still being heard in court?
Well, I am of opinion all legal matters, court cases, should be resolved before any individual took an oath of an office. Because why? I see no reason once we give a timeline that give an individual to stay in an office a year, 2 years before the verdict is finally given. It doesn't make any sense. Why not the reverse? Even before the swearing in, if it is 1 month trial or 1 month for the benches to look into the cases, they take 1 month and evaluate the issues, all the litigations, and give verdict. Than an individual staying in an office for 2 years before finally we have a verdict. I don't know how many countries in the world this is applicable, but I know that in Kenya and in some African countries, that the judicial system is far better than what we're operating here. So what happened as of yesterday? Well, like the other part that the judge who made a comment, which is so lovable, that citizens should, wait and be civil, which he urges all the lawyers or the sons that are, coming together with various parties within all the court, that justice will be served. And that is the point, like I said, I noted earlier, that we hope this is not just a mere rhetoric. Because let me tell you, if we have access, the citizens have access to the proceeding, I will tell you for sure that all the judges will sit and write, because they knew that if they deviate from any of this,
Okay, just lost a little bit of connection with Bernard there, but we hope to get him back as quickly as possible, just so we wrap it up on that line of conversation. Yes, welcome back, Bernard. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so on a very serious perspective, so we hope that this case will be given a judicious jurisprudence and give us, the citizens is expecting to see the true accuracy of the issue. What happened to the IRS? What happened? The glitches that happened, the added
to explain in detail of, being precise, must give the nation or give us the citizens a vivid response on what happened, that on the D-Day that we have glitches, the IMF wasn't working, the beavers and all of that, and on what merit? Because the 25% is a circumstance without any English or whatever they want to explain. It's a vivid starting point. So we need this to be televised so that we can also fully suit and know what they have done and what they did in real. The system can also hold them accountable.
Interesting thoughts indeed. We're just going to have to pause on the conversation. The Spectrum today.
Thank you so much, Raymond.
Pleasure. That was Bernard Titus, political and public affairs analyst, joining us from the state capital here in New York. And we've had a lot to talk about, the ongoing and commencement of the Presidential Elections Petitions Tribunal, where the major litigants, the PDP, its candidate Atiku, as well as the Labour Party and its candidate Peter Obi, are seeking to annul the election victory of President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu, while of course the APC has finally zoned the principal positions of the National Assembly to different zones across the country, top of which is the emergence of Senator Akpabio as consensus candidate of the APC for the coveted role of Senate President. How far will this go? Well, stay with us in the late governorship election today. We'll talk about that when we come back. Stick around.
Every day, we bring you up-to-date information on topical issues affecting the common Nigerian. From issues on politics,
hello Nigeria, I remain committed.
Security, education, health,
lifestyle, and so much more. Join Janice Kobum and Uyai Anyeken
every weekday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Rise and Shine Daily, exclusive on Spectrum Television.
Welcome back, and many thanks indeed for staying on. Just before we wrap it up on the program this morning, let's turn our sights to another pretty interesting matter brewing up across the country today. It's still all bordered around post-election litigations, except that this one has finally reached the apex, and literally speaking, the Supreme Court is expected to deliver a verdict today on the outcome of the Osun State governorship election, where we're told security is pretty tight, as Governor Ademola Adeleke of Osun State is seeking to hold on to a mandate following his victory at the elections, where he defeated the erstwhile Governor Adegboya Oyetola, who of course claimed victory in a tribunal ruling that said Governor Ademola did not, of course, validly win the elections in Osun State. Well, he appealed that decision at the Court of Appeal, which validated his victory. The matter has now been taken up to the highest court in the land. Let's take a listen to the different counsels for both the defendants, the respondents, and the litigants as well in that case, as we expect a formal verdict to be delivered later today.
Very happy today. 3 PDP petition will be coming up tomorrow, so we'll be back here tomorrow for the continuation of the pre-hearing session.
What we started on a very good note. I believe you were here and heard what we said in reply to the statement by the presiding justice of this court. Maybe let me repeat myself. I said that the decision to be rendered will impact on Nigeria's electoral jurisprudence, judicialism, and constitutionalism. It's very important that this is made known, because one way or the other, we have assured the court that we will do all that we can to ensure that these petitions are heard expeditiously, because everybody is anxious, waiting for the outcome of the hearing. Nigerians are anxious. Most Nigerians are anxious. Thank you very much. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, those were the legal counsels of both parties, who are, of course, expecting a favorable judgment in, either of their favors by the end of today. And as promised, do well to keep up with the respective news bulletin day 2 p.m. We should have news for you with regards to the ruling of the Supreme Court later today, which of course is expected to validate either the victory of Governor Ademola Adeleke in the Osun State gubernatorial elections, where he polled over 403,000 votes to defeat the former governor Oyetola of the APC, who scored over 373,000 votes to finish in second at the end of that election. So it will be very, very interesting. Perhaps a lot of Nigerians would mirror the judgment of the Supreme Court on this matter to accentuate whether or not the outcome of the tribunal cases that we're seeing littered across the country with respect to the 2023 polls would meet the expectations of most Nigerians. So interesting times ahead indeed. The elections may have come and gone, but grab a popcorn and sit and monitor your screens if you can, because interesting days, of course, are still ahead of us, especially with May 29 approaching, where the president-elect Bola Tinubu is getting set to take over power from President Muhammadu Buhari. And so are 28 governors who would also be inaugurated, some for a second term, others as first-timers in the respective state government houses later on May 29 as well. Just a reminder that following the induction of the members-elect of the Senate and House of Representatives by May 23rd, June 5 is the date set for the inauguration of the members, while on the 13th of June, we're expecting to see voting take place on the floor of both chambers to formally elect the principal officers of the red and the green chambers. But now it looks like we're having a clue as to where this is all tilting towards. The question of who the cap fits is looking closely to being answered with the emergence of Akpabio as the consensus candidate of the APC for the role of Senate presidency. While we'll have one eye fixated on what happens at the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal, where the proceedings are formally on the way. But that's how far we can go on today's edition of Political Spectrum. Thanks indeed for joining us. It's been an eventful show today, and thanks to our guest Bernard Titus for obliging us time to talk about this issue. Matters will likely revisit as the days goes by, but that will be when next we come your way for another edition of Political Spectrum. Stick around. Blood on the Cam is up next in 10 with the day's biggest business story on Business 360. But from me, Raymond Ita, and the rest of the crew, thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest.